Video games. Just the name draws up mixed feelings from different crowds. Some people say they incite violence in younger generations, while others say they are addictive like heroin and should be monitored. Video games are often chalked up by older generations as a waste of time and money. However, this is more often false, and they are beneficial to people in many ways. The problem with the modern perception of video games is that a lot of studies have been done on linking violence to video games. The studies all lead to one eventual statement: video games cause violence. Now, these studies are often messy and riddled with problems. Most of the problems are like most of them include a bunch of paradoxes, or they don't include the outside uh, kind of stimuli in the situation. And what most people don't realize is that aggression caused by violent video games is from competition, and that competition is in turn good to beneficial to younger generations. Now, some people say that violent video games cause crime, but in fact, this is false because violent crime has gone down in the years where violent video game usage is highest, actually. The next biggest problem with video games that most people see is video game addiction. Now, video game addiction is defined as excessive time playing games. The addict displays a pattern of behavioral addiction whereby he or she ignores social, relational, or occupational responsibilities and becomes preoccupied with the game. Whether I like it or not, video game addiction is real. However, video game addiction isn't exactly something that video game producers can control. It's not controlled by the video game at all. Some people could have a gene called DRD2, which is in fact a gene which increases most people's likelihood of addiction. They also could have stress and anxiety and could be using it as a way to cope. Or they could just be part of their personality, and some people just seek pleasure from the video games, and it leads on to addiction. Regardless of the fact, the root isn't in the video game itself. The root is in the individual person, and the individual person can be monitored and it can be controlled. So the problem isn't with the video games, it's with the person. Now, regardless of the reason, one thing is for certain: the cause of addiction to video games isn't that the video games are inherently addicting. They are merely enjoyable, and that the addiction is something other than the video game. So if there are so many possible negatives to video games, how are they good in any way? Well, first off, there are many types of video games, so when I reference video games, I'll be talking about the main AAA titles that have came out in recent years. So I'm sure you have heard the term big brain whenever it comes to video games, or video gamers, or however you want to say it. Well, this may shock you, but actually there was a study done where people played video games 30 minutes a day. It was Super Mario 64. They played it 30 minutes a day for 2 months straight. And they also had another set of people that didn't play any video games for 30 minutes, 2 months straight, didn't play any video games at all. And what they found was that the people that played video games actually had significantly more brain development and brain growth than the people who didn't play video games. And this affected the prefrontal cortex, right hippocampus, and the cerebellum. Video games have also been found to improve problem solving, memory, and reflex thinking, meaning that video games such as puzzle or remembering things or thinking quickly, video games that include those will in turn help exercise those and help develop those better. But the video games are not only beneficial to people, they are also good for the economy. In 2018 alone, video games made 43.8 billion, and that even surpassed that of the film industry, which made 41.7 billion that year. And video games can also help make important jobs that are important to the economy and the growth of the economy. And it also helps, like, if you're interested in video games, then that's actually a path that you can follow in the future. But even though a lot of people think that video games are just an unhealthy phenomenon among younger people, they can often be used for good. They not only develop different parts of your brain better, but they develop your decision making, they increase your memory, and they can even increase the effects of aging, or decrease the effects of aging in older generations.